Whenever you're ready.
Okay. All right, we're going to call this administrative workshop to order. May we stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please? I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Holly, if you can call the roll, please.
Nidinger.
Here.
Thomas.
Here.
Thompson.
Here.
Reed. Penny.
Here. Okay, so our first item on the agenda today is Hurricane Helene update. Who's going to run with that one?
Well, we all need to talk. So who wants to go first? All right, let's do it. You're going to hear from everybody. So, yeah, you may as well. Honestly, you may as well just come on up, everybody.
Have all these happy faces looking at us.
You can tell if each other's telling the
Yeah.
truth or not if you're
Yeah.
sitting next to each other.
Ain't nothing to lie about. It's been
We
a
got an
cluster.
extra chair over here too, so.
It's been a cluster, so.
Yeah. Come on up, Terry.
Gather around the table, guys.
Terry, come on. Yeah, come on up.
Jim. You sit over there. We won't exclude you.
Oh, Terry, you want to get on the other side so I could see you. Jim, will you switch with Terry? Will you switch with Terry? Do you mind?
Good job.
Sorry.
She wants to
I'll
look at
get
the back
some
of your
W.
head.
I'll get that fixed.
Because she's gonna have a lot of talking.
Loves talking.
Okay,
So,
well, hope everybody fared well.
yeah, you guys okay?
We're here.
That's most important.
Yeah.
No, I guess the starting point, the first storm, of course, everybody got all their stuff out. Trucks were coming, ready to go. Storm number 2. Everything took a back seat because, the trucks weren't allowed to be here. Got off with DRC this morning, and Carly also spoke with them too to give that little extra kicker. But he's just waiting on, he has actually trucks ready. He's waiting on his lift and his porta potty, which was supposed to be there yesterday. So he's scrambling, trying to get that. Once he gets that, he says then trucks will be on the way because he has them. So then they'll start removing all the debris, and hopefully all goes well. A week,
Right.
maybe
When
2
did
weeks.
you say they start when?
As soon
Hopefully
as
tomorrow.
everything's in line, they're hoping tomorrow, but
Don't we have porta potties right out here? Is that the whole thing?
yeah, but I mean, he's up in Pinellas Park. That's what I told him. I said, I could bring you one.
It's
But-
for the disposal
Down
side.
here's where he needs the porta potty.
Yeah,
No.
no, it needs to be at the dump site, because they have to have a lift. So the monitor is gonna be in the lift, making sure the trucks are full. This is all FEMA stuff that,
Well, of course, if you guys don't,
they don't make nothing easy
if you guys
for
don't
people.
know, of course, that the city doesn't, we don't have our dump. So we had to find a place.
Correct.
And then you have to make it secure, and you gotta have someone there, so you gotta have a porta potty.
And it has to be, FEMA approved.
Correct.
So, there's just so much red tape when the disaster hits that should be easier, but it is what it is. But, hopefully, a lot of the residents have been very thankful, very comforting for what we're doing. You have your, and I understand. I mean, poor people out there. I know, it brings a tear to my eye to drive out there on the island and just see all those people that, it's the saddest thing I've ever seen. But, we are working on getting our stuff ready to rock and roll. I mean, I just got a phone call that there's like 40 trucks sitting in Walmart parking lot. And I was like, man, I wish they were ours. They must be getting ready to go to the beach. But no, that's, the guys are slowly picking away.
You're good.
The hardest part now,
Yeah, we just started.
FEMA, that they want us to, I keep blaming them, but it just kind of fits.
Yeah.
But they want us to keep the debris separate from Helene and Milton.
Oh, come on.
Yeah, no, I'm not, trust me, you can't make that up. And so, most of Milton was wind, so, like on our end, it's a lot more trees and stuff. I think a lot of debris that was already out there is there. So I'm working with the Tetra Tech, our monitoring company, on trying to, I was like, well, let's just do the tree debris for Milton and everything else is this, but they're working on it, trying to cut through the red tape, because you can't get an answer one way or another from FEMA.
Well, I'd like to know how they're gonna know the difference if you were to come out and just haul it off.
Don't know, it's just
They don't
FEMA,
know.
look, it's just an excuse not to pay. We haven't got paid from Irma, that was 2017, so it's just tough. But that's what we're doing. I told them, put signs out, what you bring, put a cone on there with an M that says it's Milton, put a cone in front of the other one that says H, the best we can do, and we'll just, yep, and then we'll just, cross that bridge in 25 years when they ever pay.
So, Sean, can we back up just a second?
Yes, ma'am.
Because I know that a lot of the comments we're getting is about debris. And so if we can give them sort of a Reader's Digest version. I know you talked a little bit about there being a monitoring company and a debris. Just so that you all understand, some of the holdup is there are so many moving pieces. And the city had contracts for both debris removal and the disposal sites all in place prior to storm season. So how this has gone is not how it was supposed to go. So if you get comments where it's like, why wasn't the city prepared for this? We were
100%
It just
prepared for this.
has not happened that way. The amount of debris, the 2 storms back to back, the system was not ready for what actually happened.
Yeah, because we had a spot to go, and just with the amount of debris from the flooding, nobody because it's everywhere, and where we were gonna go, they're like, we have no room, so
Correct.
luckily Pinellas Park stepped up, and in one of the emails, we put his stuff in, we need somewhere, so they gave us I think it's 3 acres, 2.5
Something like
acres,
that.
so
One of their parks.
it's something, and
Yeah.
it's a good start. It might hold everything that we have here. He guesstimated, about maybe right around 80,000 cubic yards of debris that we have here, maybe a little bit more now from Milton, but Milton is, like I said, vegetation, they call you, just trees and stuff, so,
Wait.
but there wasn't a whole lot, but there's still a decent amount.
Yeah, and the disposal site, so there's been a lack of haulers. Everybody is scrambling for haulers, and everybody is moving to where the money is. And our understanding is that the state has started offering higher paying contracts to the haulers to try to get them to move places more quickly. They're prioritizing the beach, which is frustrating because we're not beachfront. We're waterfront, but we're not beachfront. So we got roughly the same damage, but we're not getting the same resources yet. But the other thing that has set us apart from some other communities is that we do not have our own space in the city to serve as a debris site, where a lot of other cities have converted their own park space because they had enough open park space to be able to start hauling debris faster because they can put it on their own land, which we did not have that option. So there's been things that other cities have been able to do more quickly just because of their size or because of where they're located that has not applied to us. Because we get a lot of comments of, well, why were they able to do this? Like, well, they had their own park, so they secured their own site, got a hauler, and they just started going to their own park. We need both a hauler and a debris site. And then once the debris site is secured or selected and there's an agreement in place, it has to be brought to FEMA standards before it can even be utilized. Right. So it's just, there's a lot of steps in the process that I don't know that the public sees or understands, because why would they, right? I mean, why would they? But it has created a perception that's not accurate. And so we just want you all to be aware of that there's a lot of moving parts to this, and not every jurisdiction is the same. So if you see what one city has been able to do, that doesn't mean that was an option for us, if that makes sense.
Yeah, because Gulfport has Hoyt Field. I mean, we even talked to people in the city of St. Pete and even called private empty lots that have stuff, and you'll only get so far, and then it's crickets. You don't really get that full. So because I mean we've been on the phone for 2 weeks.
It's my equipment. It's functioning. Sorry, we had to rewire a whole bunch of this to get things to work. A bunch of our wiring.
I'll grab that in a minute. I'll see. It might be.
It's okay. That's okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll pull that slide off in a second.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's like Carly said, it's just been difficult and struggling, and the back-to-back storms were the worst. But it's coming. It's coming. It's just And I think
Everybody's
once-
tired and exhausted and it's.
Oh, no, I know.
Makes it tough.
I know, but it's, I mean, it's coming, and I think once they get started, you know, I think the removal process, hopefully it goes pretty quick.
Hopefully.
I'll be back for some more questions, I'll let you go.
Do you want me to go, or you want somebody else to go first?
Are we focusing on Helene first?
Yeah,
Okay.
let's start with you, because she sounds like
Sure.
she's gonna be a longer.
She's a longer.
She's gonna kill
I'm the
us.
cleanup crew, sorry.
No, as you guys know, we did evacuate to the secondary EOC prior to Hurricane Helene. Our biggest concern for this storm, being that it was a paralleling storm, we knew there would be significant storm surge. We did not realize it would be historic storm surge for this county. 7.2 feet is the last I heard, waiting on the official numbers. What that did for our city was pretty significant. We attempted to run out of the EOC on emergency calls, but at some point, the water just simply got too deep to go any further. We did have communications with the hospital throughout. They left a crew of 12 in there, and we're stuck on the second floor. The waters rose over the 3-foot dam they had put around the Tiger Dam, so we wanted to make sure we had contact with them. They were okay. Made as many rescues as we could, but then got pushed back by the water. We had, I think, 132 calls for help during that time. We could not respond. Most were people who chose to stay in their home. The water rose. They wanted us to get them out. We simply couldn't at that point. We didn't have the vehicles. We did have one boat with National Guard. We were able to put one of our firefighter medics in there. Did the best we could from a small boat. Went as far as we could with the trucks. I'm trying to get a fuel delivery from the state. You mind if I grab that real quick?
No, get it.
Okay.
So they were launching the boat at Park Street and Pasadena Avenue. That's where they were launching
Yeah.
Launching the boat.
16-foot Carolina skiff.
Yeah.
Did they launch the boat over at Causeway Village?
No, they
No,
they had to drive the
they took it
boat
from
to
Park
Causeway
Street.
Village. Park Street and
Because I
Causeway
heard
Village.
that somebody was rescued on a boat at Causeway
Yeah, they
Village.
went wherever they got
Oh my
calls, yeah.
God.
And then the
then-
sheriff had a boat, but it was them guys
Yeah.
were during Helene, Chiefs guys
On that
point.
boat.
No, but they were just on point. I mean, because them guys coming back, treading water, this dragging. I mean, they were.
Oh my God.
Give them kudos when it's due, and man, they were 100%. I just want to say that.
It's all a blur. We did get
It feels so long ago.
the rapid water team from Broward County showed up. I want to say about 3 a.m.
Oh, wow.
They had boats and dry
Yeah.
suits, so they were able to.
This was Helene, not Mel.
We gave them a quick plan in the EOC of where to go, so they started that process.
Do you want me to give this to you?
The interesting part of this storm was the surge was incredibly fast, right? As fast as it came in, it did go out about as quickly. So once we started getting pieces in place, we were able to go out. Of course, the long-term damage from this one, because it was the saltwater surge, is going to be tremendous. We all came back the next day, all night at the EOC. We started doing assessments. The biggest issue with this storm, Helene, in my opinion, was the lack of evacuation, right? We've been telling people for years, you need to evacuate when the order is given. Most people chose to stay. And then we come back to just a situation that looked, almost like the apocalypse. So we did have to shut down a building that next day. It was the 6800 Park Street building. Water had basically flooded all the large-scale electrical system is on the bottom floor of that 16-story
Which
building.
building is that?
Lutheran.
Oh, Lutheran,
Lutheran
okay.
Residences,
They go by
um,
numbers, I never know.
Yeah, sorry.
Okay.
So, addresses never changed. Ownerships that do. But, and we felt bad, right? Because the people didn't have places to go, but it was an unsafe situation. They were in a building with no elevator, people who cannot physically navigate the stairs, no elevators, no electricity, water only to the 10th floor roughly of a 16-story building. So you got people in heat, no water.
They
So
had to carry him downstairs?
yeah, we made the decision to
Oh my
completely
God.
evacuate the building. I think the fire department, and luckily, we had an engine strike team, so we had crews from Naples Fire and Immokalee fire that helped with that. We actually physically had to carry 28 people down the stairs, which is exhausting if you can imagine doing it in that heat. B shift and those strike teams were amazing doing that. Actually, like Sean said, everyone from every shift chipped in on these last two storms. So can't say enough about the firefighters in this city and what they did during these two storms. But back to Helene, it was mostly a water issue. We've checked on other buildings. We do have a couple nursing homes with significant damage, so they're not back in there yet. And then, of course, the residential structure. So we'll continue. We have orders in with the state existing from that storm, and we'll continue to update those orders post-Milton. One of the big things we're looking for this city for help from the state is building inspectors, plans reviewers, permit techs, and fire inspectors. What we really need to do is get official eyes on all these properties, right? And decide if there's safety or significant damage issues, structural issues, things like that. So this is going to be a long-term process to continue to evaluate the safety of these structures. And I guess I'll talk about Milton when that time comes. But the biggest differences from our point of view is Helene was surge, Milton was wind. We've always been concerned about surge, right? I think the latest stats were 75 to 80% of fatalities, hurricane fatalities, are always water related, right? Run from the water, hide from the wind. We've been saying that for years. The fact that, the warnings were not heeded the way they should have been in Pinellas County, 12 deaths from Helene. In this city, none directly related to the storm. We did have some medical issues a couple days later. Think about it, right? After the storm, stress levels are incredibly high. People with predisposed medical conditions, it can be real tough on them. We think we're pretty much back to normal at the fire station. As far as
It's our new normal.
as far as response goes, right? We can respond out of there.
So you're on regular shift now, right?
We are, yes. We had the Immokalee crew was actually housed out of our station probably for about 5 days after. They called it Engine Task Force, and it made sense. They put an engine at Treasure Island, St. Pete Beach, and us. They worked together as a 3-engine company with a battalion chief from out of the area. Great communications, and they simply, the abundance of calls in those next few days was so high. Most of the things that were out of the city, our lieutenant could send them to do, that eyes on evaluate, and then we take care of stuff. And then the big events, they all went together. One of the things that we did, and I get a lot of questions from residents about this, 3 that I'm aware of, lithium-ion battery fires in the city post Helene. They were all of the smaller types. One was a Segway battery pack. 2 were like the tool battery packs, but all did receive water. Yeah.
I had the car on the island that put itself out during the storm.
Does water cause them to go? Is that what it is? The lithium-ion battery?
And it's not right away, that's the problem, is it's not right when the water touches it.
I'm surprised we didn't have
It's
some
later.
Teslas go up.
Right.
Yeah, of course, we did have the fire during the storm just outside of the city district across from the old station. Complete loss, couldn't get there. Water was chest deep. The guys were able to get the neighbor out of his house who didn't realize the house next door was on fire.
Fire in the storage facility was from a battery, correct? Yeah.
Wet battery that was brought to the storage facility.
Right.
And I'm still catching up on reports, so yeah, that one's almost done. I worked on it yesterday.
What about the fire that happened over here at these condos just right down here by Publix? What was that from?
Oh, okay. Forgot about that one. That was not lithium ion.
Okay.
That was normal. So what happened is after it flooded, those apartments received tremendous amount of water too. Probably a good 18 inches to 2 feet. Owner was in the process of selling that, so it was empty, but came in with to set up fans to dry it out, and one of the fans overheated, caught fire, probably because of the
Get your outlets out and
Yeah.
plugged it in.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, that one got going unfortunately pretty good too, so. And then there's been a lot that we've been running to out of district on the beaches because of the water there as they turn power on. There was another one last night. It's just, and no one's there, so they have time to get going, and they end up being pretty big.
So, question, we got these people that are in these homes, and we know that they've got this significant water damage. And you know, some of them are just doing that. They're buying fans, drying them out, I'm not leaving. Doesn't the health department step in at some point? Or that
Not that I'm aware of.
building department and say, hey, this is unhealthy for you to be here, it's condemned, you need to get out? I mean,
Segue.
Right.
Breathe one more second, hold on before you go.
Terry.
And with
Oh.
the, just breathe,
Thought he
with
was
the,
still
with the,
getting
all the power outage and everything, so we had, you know, every single one of our lift stations were done, you know, luckily, chiefs, the EOC, the guys with the pumps came through. I mean, so that next day, we had most of them up and running. Our master has one pump, because two of the pumps got ruined during the first storm. And my guys, I mean, they did good, 24/7 for almost, 2 or 3 days, running just running the pumps and keeping the fuel. I mean, yeah, so I mean, them guys really stepped up also, and just, you know, they're gassed and tired, you know, only have 7 of them.
Yeah.
You know, so as soon as we were able to kind of get back on our feet, we, you know, got them back to, you know, just their regular hour days. If a couple of them wanted to stay and make a little bit, but, you know, I can't run them to death neither, because we only have 7.
Yeah.
But, you know, once, that is our biggest thing. Once we got that, everything else is kind of just falling into place, you know, with the cleanup.
Right.
But, you know, when it's all said and done with everything that dies, everything's gonna definitely look a lot different.
Okay.
You know, it's kind of, but, no, I just wanted to mention that one also. Just with the guys stepping up in the lift stations, because that's a tough one, because you can't do anything until they're up and running. And kudos to
No,
the
you guys
power
did
company.
good. I mean, you got them up and running, people didn't
Mhm.
withstand it, you know.
Yeah, and kudos to the power company too,
Plus they
'cause
were
that's a
damaged
lot.
from the first storm, and you got the
Mhm.
second storm, and.
Yeah,
We have the best people in this city, there's no doubt about it. Staff and
Alright.
We're trying.
everybody.
I'll let you roll.
Just made me think of that.
We're trying.
Okay.
So as I said, I'm kind of the cleanup crew. My job really starts as community improvement director. It's during the whole thing, but as building official, it starts after the fact. So as you know, I'm gonna kind of start with the flood insurance program, because that's the big hit, and then we can take questions and comments. So the city does participate in the National Flood Insurance Program. That has some requirements in it for some enforcement. And the enforcement is anytime we have damage that is more than 50% of the value of the structure,
60,
50.
1/2.
50.
50.
And the value of the structure comes from, the property appraiser has it on their website, and it'll show, this is the value of your structure, this is the value of additional structures, and this is the value of your land. So it has a breakdown of all those things. That value, if you have damage that's more than 50% of that value, you now have to bring your house or mobile home into compliance with the Florida Building Code and the National Flood Insurance Program. So, that being said, we had significant damage. We are still in the process of doing damage assessment, and so we started with Helene, and through Helene, we got through all of the mobile home park as well as all of the single-family residents. The mobile home park, we went back in and we deemed them unsafe. Did not condemn. Condemn is
Not all of them.
not a word. Not all of them.
Not all of them
Well, I saw the
individually
yellow.
went property by
Individually we went.
property.
I saw a lot of the yellow stickers, I didn't see
Yeah,
any red,
correct.
so.
So each one of those, so the definition of major damage for a manufactured home is anytime the floor system gets wet. It is considered major damage in a flood event for a manufactured home. So most of these homes had 2 to 3 feet of water in them. And there's no question. So we went by water lines on the building. And, you know, we had people who cleaned off their water lines and went, we didn't get any water at all. And I went, yeah, your neighbor got it on both
Right.
sides of you, sorry. So we had some events, the elevated homes did pretty well during Helene. You know, they had some skirting missing, they had some things like that, but they didn't get water. So,
That's a handful, isn't that right?
correct, there's
Not too many,
5, 10,
yeah.
maybe, yes.
yeah, out of 213, right,
So-
altogether.
And then, I guess, we're not doing Milton yet, right? We doing Milton later?
What?
Are we doing Milton
I
later, or
think
am
you
I
just need to
wrapping?
go.
I just need to go,
I think you
okay.
just need to go.
So then came Milton. We have saturated floors in the mobile homes, and now we have a wind event. And think of, I like to kind of think of the floors are OSB, right? So they're manufactured product that are not super sturdy. And if I think of like a cardboard box, and I'm not saying it's cardboard box, but you think about a
Very
cardboard box,
close.
it's very sturdy when it's solid, it gets wet, and it's just nothing, right? So that's what happens with the floor system, because it's not solid wood, it's a manufactured product. So the wind event happens, and some of these things just blew apart, right? We've got a front of a building came off. We've got one that was almost cut in half from top to bottom, which was, I haven't figured that one out yet, but
The one with the living room sticking out, you can see when you drive by?
Yes.
yep. So there are lots of additional damage, and we're just doing the windshield assessment at this point for the second storm. We hadn't gotten to substantial damage assessment yet, which is the FEMA requirement for a National Flood Insurance Program. So I just kind of wanted to give you a heads up that things are going to look very different. The values for your single-family homes can be found on the property appraiser's website. They are broken down. There's a little tab that says FEMA, and you click on that button and it gives you exactly what your values are. The manufactured homes are actually built to Department of Motor Vehicle standards. They are not built to Florida Building Code standards. So those are a Blue Book value that you put in the VIN number, and it gives you what the value of that structure is. So that's the difference between those two as to where you can find those numbers. So all the substantially damaged structures are going to have to meet the Florida Building Code and other requirements that reduce exposure to future flooding. So they're going to have to be elevated above base flood plus 2 feet. And that is for both the manufactured homes and the single-family homes. Non-residential structures are either going to have to be elevated or dry flood proofed if they meet that substantial damage.
Say that again about
Sorry, I'm choking.
single-family homes at elevation.
So they're going to have to be elevated to a base flood elevation plus 2 feet. So the base flood elevation changes throughout the city. It's generally between 9 and 13. But that's depending on where you are and the lay of the land.
So the flood adjusters, they look at that too, right? That's you? We'll be talking.
So I'm having.
I want to understand it. Mm-hmm.
So I'm having, I've asked for inspectors and plan reviewers and that. I have asked if we could have someone who has floodplain experience as well, because it is a whole different area. I actually spoke to the director of the Building Officials Association last night. She put me in contact with a person who does the deployment of the resources. And I talked to her today, and she said I could possibly have 2 people tomorrow. So I have to send her an email.
We're gonna have to try to get people from other cities as well.
Yes, we have put in the request that comes through the Florida Department of Emergency Management. So the request is there. The Building Officials Association and the Fire Marshals Association and all those people send people who basically their cities deploy them to assist in things like this. So I believe that the first 30 days is covered 100% by the Department of Emergency Management. And then after that, if we still need assistance, we'll have to figure that out.
Ones that you said had to be elevated, if they show that they need to be elevated. I know that's very expensive to have that done. Do they they get costs, they get money toward that, having
So
a?
FEMA has an increased cost of compliance, it's called the ICC. It is assistance. Your flood insurance will cover some of it, the increased cost of compliance pays for it to be elevated, but I don't know that they will be made whole. A lot of people don't have flood insurance. I've talked to many people who said, we made a choice, we either were able to live here or we had to pay for flood insurance. And they made a choice, and
Well, some people that, they bought a place, and because there'd already been claims before on that.
Correct.
The insurance company would not.
Repetitive loss.
repetitive
Yeah.
loss,
Yeah,
which is another issue.
yeah.
Well, that's why
Um,
they said if you have flood, don't cancel it.
Don't cancel
because
it,
if you
transfer
go
it to the new
if you-
person.
Yeah, and they transfer it, otherwise they could be 30,000 a year.
Yep,
For flood.
absolutely.
Yeah.
So, I just want to make sure that you are aware, if at any time it crosses your mind to not do the substantial damage, this is something that would possibly kick us out of the National Flood Insurance Program, which would mean that we would not get any assistance during disasters. We would not have the ability to apply for any federally funded loans or grants. And flood insurance we wouldn't be able to get that for any of our residents. So it's something, these are minimum standards through the National Flood Insurance Program. So I just want to make sure you guys are aware. I'm not going around being mean and just going, you can't stay in your house anymore. This is a federal requirement that we have to do. So I am crying right along with everybody. So,
Let me just ask you a question. There were some boats in our marina there that were damaged. Can they apply through FEMA for that?
They have to use their phone boat insurance.
I was going to say, I don't think that
I've had other people already checked it.
Yeah. Well, our deck
Now,
and
the
everything
boat that was in the
damaged.
house, maybe.
If it was used as a private residence and they can prove that,
Yeah.
they might be able to get some assistance through the FEMA disaster line, but otherwise, it's whatever their boat insurance was.
So are you saying that like people, if they have that kind of damage in their home, that they have to get out, or if they don't get out, that could cause the city issues with flood insurance?
So, yes.
I'm going to give a finer point to this simply because, interestingly, right after Helene but before Milton, because of the level of damage, I actually reached out to some law partners of mine who dealt with this during Irma, I think it was Irma, or whatever storm was in Fort Myers. I can't remember all the name of them.
They're all running
And
together.
so we actually were putting together a little internal task force on this. And of the conversations that we were having is exactly the point that Terry is making. And it's not going to be the most fun we've all ever had. But FEMA threatened to drop some jurisdictions down in like the Fort Myers area. And they had, my law partner was helping out with that. And, they had to threaten some lawsuits. They were able to go and get it managed. But I think this storm is even going to be worse because of the level and location of all of this damage throughout the Tampa Bay region. This is a little bit more of a high-profile area, and that storm was a much more high-profile storm. So when Terry's out there and she's making these calls, it is going to be painful. But from a legal perspective, and I'm happy to be the fly in the ointment on this, if she doesn't make those calls correctly, FEMA is going to try and drop us, or other jurisdictions that don't. And we've got to document, and you guys do a great job, so it's not like I'm worried about it, but we have to document everything. It has to be by the book, and there's going to be some folks who are going to be in a very, very difficult situation, especially when you're talking about these mobile homes. This is a game changer all over this region, and all jurisdictions are going to have to be ready to manage how difficult some of these decisions are going to be made and how we're going to have to manage the FEMA situation. As we were sitting here, in fact, I was reaching out to one of my law partners who is in the Tallahassee office to see if we can't have some conversations with the state to help out with some of these stuff, because we're going to have to pull all the resources that we can. but I think of everything from what I had conversations about before Milton even came, what Terry's situation and she's talking about is going to be the most critical, and it's going to be very difficult for some of your residents, I think. And I just want everybody to be aware of that. But Terry's not being a jerk. She's doing her job, and she's going to
So
have
as
to
long
do
as she documents, like, that she's gone to all these places, but if they still refuse to leave, is that also put the burden on FEMA dropping the city?
I'm gonna have to actually think about how we manage that part of
Okay.
this. We have,
She may run into that.
we may have to put some additional items in our code about that. We do have a
Our
provision right
floodplain
now.
ordinance,
And we probably have enough in there, but this is gonna be,
Something new.
this is something new. And this is not just something new, like, for city of South Pasadena. This is gonna be all over the region, all over the region. And it's gonna be, Helene, actually, I think from a more significant perspective, I don't know with Milton, I know we haven't gotten there, that's gonna be as big of a significant issue unless there's some compounding damage. And I didn't know until you mentioned it that you're gonna have to document these things separately. That's gonna be almost impossible, so we're just gonna have to do the best we can to do it.
so I met with Kevin Guthrie at FDEM at the EOC the other day, and they are, was that Sunday? Sorry. They are trying through the Florida Department of Emergency Management to get these two storms combined. But it's got to go, of course, above them. So they're working through that to try and combine the two because they are so close together. What we have done is, and going through our damage assessment, our software program has a place where we can put comments in. So anytime we have water damage, we put water from Helene and Milton, we're assuming is wind damage because it's more of a wind event than a water event. So we're at least dividing them up that way. They took all the data that we put in from Helene and they converted it to a Excel spreadsheet and then started a fresh one for Milton. So some of our damage assessment program has it separated already. We now also have the substantial damage estimator, which is, we're going to be doing that with paper for right now, and so one person can load it all into the system. So we will try to divide it as best as we can. Hopefully it gets combined and it makes life a little easier. But any way you look at it, this is going to be very difficult, and the landscape of this city is going to change.
Well, Terry, you mentioned the number of trailers that were damaged and or destroyed are gonna have to be replaced. Are they all gonna have to be lifted up?
Yes, sir.
Brother.
And the island.
And the island,
And
this
the
is not
island.
just the mobile home park.
This is not just the mobile home
We're gonna
park.
hear a lot about
This is the
Pocket Village,
island. This is
all the
Hibiscus.
single
This
fam-
neighborhood.
This
Yeah.
is, yep,
Pasadena
Everywhere.
Island.
Which neighborhood?
basically any single family home.
Oh,
If there's substantial damage to it and you have to put in enough money that you get over that 50% threshold, then coming into compliance with current building standards, which include FEMA standards, is going to be an obligation.
Yes.
It is going to render from what I'm seeing and just my experience, many homes in this area are going to have to be demolished or in some other form or fashion managed, and it's gonna be a thing.
And the
So-
difficult part there right now is that we don't think that a lot of people are expecting that.
No.
Because their
No,
homes
they're
are
not.
still
they're
intact.
definitely not.
So they think that they can just fix it because
Yeah.
it's still there, because their roof didn't blow away, or because it's, but that is not the case. And
Right.
so people are not only gonna be devastated by this, they're going to be surprised also.
Well, because what they're doing in the private homes right now, they're tearing out the walls to the from 4 foot down.
Yeah.
In the thinking process that they're getting contractors, they're going to fix the walls, and meanwhile this is going on, and they're going to find out that maybe that's not enough. Is that what
When
you're
they come and
saying?
pull a permit, that's when they're gonna find out. And then
Yeah.
the other problem you're gonna have,
Right now
people
it's
that's
just-
doing the work and they're not gonna report it.
Correct.
But because they're next door to someone,
Yeah.
that's gonna be another tough part on Terry and
Yeah.
and her team. Is those people who did it, didn't report it, didn't pull a permit, but
Absolutely.
yeah.
Well, and right now
And
it's
we've
pretty.
got a record right now of everything Every single family home has been damaged. They're currently, my staff is currently doing, I got my permit techs out in the field. They're loving life. They're currently doing damage assessment on the multifamily houses, or units. So we're gonna get all that information soon, and then once we finish with the multifamily, we'll start on the commercial. Because the commercial's in the same,
Well, you already got the bad actors. I mean, there was already the guy that was on passing out page stating that don't let the building department in, don't show them anything, do your work, don't let them know what you're doing, because you're gonna have to build your place up.
love those
That
people.
rule.
Because they put it on social media.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Of course, he listed his address too. So,
just wave that
Got
flag,
it.
yeah.
So just for a reference, I pulled a random house off the island as a FEMA emergency management 50% rule from their website, the property appraiser's website. So, and it calls out that the structure is worth $216,127. Extra features are worth $32,256, and the land is valued at $1,043,395. So the 50% rule gives you $108,000 that you can spend to repair that structure. So it's,
She's saying no way.
No way.
so I just kind of want to put that out there because everybody's like, we paid $900,000, we paid $1 million, we paid, would we get a $55,000 for the
For
mobile home
somebody
park?
in Causeway Village said they paid 55,000.
And we're
So
kind of
I'm
like,
that's not
that
the
is
dollar
not
figure
the
that
dollar
they
figure because
use.
that includes the land. You paid for that land, you paid for the extra features, you paid for all these other things. The structure itself, 1955
We've kind of
structure.
always said that those houses on the water, the land is worth
The
more
land
than
is
the
where the
structure.
money is,
Yeah.
correct. So just as a heads up, it is more than anything.
Thing.
The other thing is, we cannot waive permit requirements. So I know some jurisdictions will throw that out there, that, we're just gonna, just do
And
what
we'll
you
get
can
the
to get
permit
back up.
later.
Exactly.
No.
We cannot do that, and,
Unless there's some state, the only way for any of that to occur is if the state comes out with some kind of ruling. That being said, if the state comes up with that kind of ruling, it could have an impact
FEMA
on the
says no.
FEMA requirements.
Yeah,
So,
this is a
I mean-
federal
so
thing.
this is a
not
federal
even
thing,
state.
so the
This is
state can't waive
federal.
this. And I think we sent you section 4 of the
I sent them the
substantial
whole thing
damage.
and but I specifically called out section 4.
So it says in there, the community cannot suspend or waive permit requirements for the repair of damaged buildings and manufacturers' homes in post-disaster situations without substantial consequences. So those consequences being we're gonna kick you out of the program and you won't get any,
I mean, if
Unless
this-
you get something from the feds.
unless
I
it
don't
comes
even
from the
know what-
feds.
I don't even know what the state is.
And
I
the
don't know
reason-
necessarily the state and the feds are gonna agree on this.
No.
Unless it comes from FEMA,
Correct.
I can't advise, neither can Terry, that you comply with anything other than the FEMA requirements.
And you can never get a
Here's
straight
the
answer
question,
out of
okay,
FEMA.
now this has not happened it's not the first time this has happened in the state of Florida. This has happened, down south of us. Did the state come in and waive things then?
No.
No. So
That's-
why would anybody think, well, I mean,
We're
they
not
might, but,
expecting that.
We're not expecting
We're not
that.
saying this because we think
But
it's
they
even a
could.
possibility.
yeah.
We're just
I mean,
saying that
I mean, 'cause
unless
I know
they
there's just a
will-
moratorium in there as well.
Yeah.
Correct.
We
In-
don't
in
we
the
don't
FEMA
expect
documents.
any of that. We
But-
don't expect
That's
them
why
to
a lot of
let
people
there's
go,
lawsuits down in South Florida.
why don't they just waive permits and let us do, and it's because the reason behind it is you flooded this time, right? And I know you haven't flooded ever before, right? But now that you've flooded, if you don't elevate the structure,
it's gonna happen.
it's gonna
again.
happen again. And so then, things like the flood insurance program throws out things like, we don't have any money, which is not the case, because they can always ask for more. But you end up with this snowball of, we just keep letting, New
They're not going to
Orleans
continue
is
funding
6 feet below
things if you're
flood.
not fixing it.
Right.
They're not going to let you build back something that is not a resilient structure when they're helping to fund it. They're just not going
And
to.
then it becomes a repetitive
Correct.
loss, and then your
Well, and the
insurance
whole
rates
idea
get
of-
higher, and
The whole idea of, well, we'll do it now and they'll inspect it later.
no.
You
It's
could
not
inspect
gonna
it
work.
later and say, guess what? You just spent
Correct.
all that
Exactly.
money and
You have to
it's
rip it
not
out.
right.
Correct.
So you don't want to do that.
No.
And I'm from Maryland, as you guys all know. But when I was in Delaware for Hurricane Sandy, and it sticks in my brain. Hurricane Sandy, they waived all the permits. They just said, go in and fix your stuff, get back up and running, right? Everybody needs to get better. New Jersey ended up, they rebuilt the entire boardwalk, fixed everything, and opened back up. And 6 months later, the entire boardwalk burned down because saltwater and electric don't go together. So, and that sticks with me because I'm like, this is why we don't do these
I've already
things.
seen it. I've seen it in the units where I manage, is that people turning on the power and it's smoking. And immediately they're running to shut them off, and then they wanna know what we're gonna do about it.
I
It's
got
like,
2 shocks.
Well,
I
you're
just
gonna
want
be doing
everybody
this.
to know. I plugged in my phone thing and zzz, and then I plugged in something else and got zzz, and my husband's an electrician. He goes, "You're an idiot." I said, "Why are you plugging things in? The room is soaked. You're standing in a puddle of water, plugging things in." I go, "Hey, I need my phone."
Come to our charging station, please.
Yeah.
My fault.
Gary, what about the condos, first floor on the condos?
Same
So
thing.
substantial damage on condos is a little different. Some of them will probably not meet the threshold. So
Taller buildings. most
taller
likely.
buildings, anything that's more than 2 stories is probably a non-issue because it's the value of the structure itself and the damage, right? So if the entire first floor went underwater, but it's 4 stories high, those other 4 stories are part of that value, right? So it shouldn't be a concern for that. If it's a 2-story building and the entire first floor went under,
Could be close.
it could be close. Because, so you may have
Wow.
8 units in a building in a 2-story structure. If 4 of them went underwater and need to do repairs, it could be. So that's why I said this substantial damage assessment is, nobody cries alone around me, just so you know.
If you all start crying, Terry will
Terry,
cry.
Terry will cry.
You have to
I'm
not.
getting you a 24-hour police officer to go everywhere.
Actually, that's,
But-
it's, that's,
Not a
I'm
bad
worried
idea.
about her.
somebody's gotta be, you've gotta be very cognizant
Yes.
of the fact that this is going to be a very difficult time.
So, yes.
And people do not see it coming. That's the part
That's
that
the
we are
problem,
struggling
they
with. the
don't.
most.
Very honest.
You
when
haven't
somebody
seen
asks
do
a
me.
not
word about
see
this
it
on the news.
coming.
Nobody's having this conversation.
What?
Look behind us. If obviously no one knows,
Yeah,
no one's here.
no one's
Nobody's
here.
here. Trust me,
We expected a
There are
crowd.
people,
They'll be here.
there are people that know, I think they just didn't get the word out about the meeting today, which I thought they would, 'cause there's always that one person that follows everything the city does and they get it out, but
Not today.
I have-
it didn't
I mean,
happen,
when
but maybe,
people
but
ask-
Thursday night is another night. So we'll see
Yeah,
what
we thought they were
happens.
gonna be power.
So we had no water on our first floors thing, so there's nothing,
Well, it's funny because they're more worried about the garbage and the trash than they
They
are
are.
about the structure of their
Correct.
homes, which I get because it's right in your face. But people do not know this. I'm
No.
telling you right now.
No, they
They don't.
I didn't know it, and
No.
people on the island that are
Correct.
more
Well,
worried
they're
about the
talking-
trash.
They're talking about it on the Pasadena Owl page, so they know about the 50 residual because they're talking about it on there.
I've seen it.
And so they're all paying attention to it, but it's.
But they have no concept of what
they
it
have no
really
concept
means.
of
Bad,
what it-
yeah.
that's right.
Exactly.
They're talking about it,
They
but
haven't applied.
they know they have to build up, but they're not understanding. Yeah.
They
so.
think they're gonna be able to get around it.
Yeah, it's a shame. I mean, it's a disaster. I mean, it's what it is. I mean, and it affects a lot. There's going to be a lot of people just relocated. They can't come back. They're not
The
going to be able to
city's gonna
afford to
look
come
very
back.
different.
I feel so bad for the people at the mobile home park. I mean, that was like our low income area for a lot of people because that's what they could afford to be here in our city, and now that might be gone, might be taken away from them. You never know what that park owner is going to do.
And I have seen, so when I was in Islamorada, we had Irma hit, and they took the mobile home park, got wiped out. They took that mobile home park, elevated, put park models in, and, now the underside of the mobile home is now parking and a
Yeah.
little storage area,
And that would
a
be
lot of
nice.
these people can't do steps. So, that may change, it may still remain a mobile home park,
That would be strange to see. a mobile
Well, they own the
home park
land,
have to park
the
the
people
car.
own the trailers, so the people were responsible for removing those trailers out and putting another built-up home in. And that's just so much. It's just so much.
There's no way most of them can afford it.
Yeah, yeah. No insurance, things like that. It's
I know
just-
someone on the beach who couldn't afford it.
They're selling some of them for $5,000 and $10,000. How in the world could you
125,000.
afford to do anything?
125,000 for one on the water.
I know,
How
I
much?
saw that.
125 grand, 175 for one of those trailers. on the
With the
water.
ones that are raised up?
Some of the ones that aren't raised up, some of them are down there right by the piers and aren't raised up.
And you still don't own the property.
Right.
Oh my God.
It's a lot.
So,
But seriously, I mean,
I know.
is she gonna be okay going into all
She's not
these?
doing that stuff by herself.
No,
we do teams of 2
Okay.
at least. So, and I'm getting assistance from this state. I might find a
I
sheriff
mean,
buddy.
it's not funny. I mean, these people, you
No,
don't know what
it's-
they're gonna do.
It is.
When she layers the boom on them, I mean, you know,
I
it
do
is
it
what it is.
nicely.
They're gonna cry, they're gonna scream,
They are.
It's gonna be all of it.
It,
Every emotion,
Yes.
everything is gonna come out, so,
it already is.
yeah.
It is.
yeah.
It's
I've
every
already
once in a while, I'll
stressed-
walk in here, go, I can't cry anymore.
Cookies, and you can hand them out.
Yeah.
Well, if I had,
If
if
you
I
had
had
a
a kitchen, I would.
You gonna turn it on and go zzz again, huh?
Don't turn the stove on, please.
Oh God, you poor thing.
So,
This is horrible.
I'm
I
sure I
wake
have
up in the
much
morning
more,
and
but-
think it really didn't happen.
We wanted to make sure that you all had an understanding of this because people are gonna be very upset and you're gonna be hearing from people. And so we wanted you to understand when there's, can we just do that, do we have to enforce it? We have to do what we have to do. It is gonna be hard, but we have to do
And
what
rumors
we
gonna make
have
it
to do.
worse, because it's gonna grow, there'll be lies, it'll be
Yes,
exaggerated.
yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
So that's something we need to make sure everybody's well informed, and try not to answer things on your own, get the
Please send them to
professional.
staff.
Please,
If we answer as a group is one thing, answering on your own could cause a lot of
Please
problems for
don't.
everybody, so.
and what
Send them to
is true
staff.
for,
We now have our phones back up and running.
yeah,
So we're gonna try and answer as many calls and emails as we can. Unfortunately, right now, we're still in assessment, so I had someone from Causeway Village ask me today, is my house, do I just need to tear it down? And I'm like, I wanna say yes, but I don't know, right? Until I do the actual assessment,
Yeah.
I can't say,
yeah,
that, in my
Yeah.
opinion, more than likely, it's not gonna be able to be, the one that's cut in half, that's no question. But, I can't say definitively that you absolutely have to until I've done the assessment. So, and hopefully I get help with that soon with my, deployment for my assistance.
Just another quick, there are several houses over by us that no one has been there yet since the first storm. Oh, yeah. I mean, you
gross.
can smell the mold and everything from the outside. And some of them have windows smashed in the back anyway, so, I mean, does that just stay like that is until some point, or?
So once my substantial damage assessment is complete, we will send out letters to everyone and let them know if they were in that group that is considered substantially damaged. More than likely, if they haven't touched it, it's probably gonna be in that ballpark. So we have, everything's got a timeline, so we have to get our substantial damage assessment done in a certain timeline. Once we
I
get
just
that
wanted to-
done, we have to
okay.
send letters out. So it's a process, but it is happening. I am in touch with Lisa Foster from Pinellas County, who's their floodplain administrator. She is a wealth of knowledge and she helps with anything. So we're all in touch. We have meetings regularly about different things we have to do. And so I do have some support. Pinellas County's, I think their CRS rating's like 2 or 3 at this point. I mean, they're on it. So I do have some backup as far as helping me to get this word out and what to send and how to voice it. So we're getting there. It's nonstop.
And on the, the thing is, on the property appraiser site, there's the name of who owns the house, but there's no phone numbers or anything. So you can't, I mean, even my next door neighbor, she passed away. I think it's an LLC now, and I'm trying to find a number for one of the family members that we can call. But, I mean, there's not a lot of information that you can get on the owner of a property, other than the address and who owns it.
So Terry, you mentioned that, about you doing the appraisal to determine, so it's not gonna be like, the people have to hire a contractor to tell them how much it's gonna cost, and then you use that
So,
number? Or
yes.
you're actually gonna do some type of an appraisal yourself?
So we can do it two ways. So the substantial damage assessment bases the information on if I consider it to be more than 50% based on the property appraiser's number. So we use that number and the national average for construction costs. So we can do it that way. They can, if they disagree with me, they can hire somebody to give them an actual appraisal that has for National Flood Insurance Program requirements, that they are doing it based on that for our interpretation of that. And then they can have contractors say, yes, we can build it for this. They cannot do a phased repair. So they can't say we're gonna come in and just do the outside of the structure, and then we're gonna do the kitchen, and then we're gonna do the bathroom.
All one.
It's all or nothing. So,
Got it.
that
Okay.
is the difference. So we can do it that way. To your point, one of the things that the Department of Emergency Management said in their meeting was that we should let residents know that if they're staying somewhere else, they should do a change of address with the Postal Service. Because the state of Florida is going to be sending out stuff, FEMA's going to be sending out stuff, and some of these places don't even have mailboxes anymore. So where's that mail going? So if you're staying somewhere else, you should send out do the post office change of address so that you can get your mail wherever you are. So that was I thought that was a great point. Because who
Either get
thinks
a P.O.
of
box.
doing that? You could get a P.O. box, you
Or-
could do a, wherever you're staying, if you're staying with family, or if you have someone that you would trust to take your mail for a little while. I just thought that was a great point, because, everybody's trying to get information to you, and the U.S. Postal Service is operating, so.
I mean, we're still getting mail service on the island, but you're right, there's some people that don't even have mailboxes anymore.
So what do the people, like when she was talking about the neighbor they can't get in touch with? Well, it's sitting in mold, is growing in there. What do you finally do about that?
So once the substantial damage estimates are done, we will determine a process for if we have to step in, I guess.
We'll try to find them, yeah.
Because if it becomes a health hazard, then we have to
Yeah.
find ways.
Yeah,
But
we'll try to
will,
find 'em.
we'll find ways to get in
Yep.
touch with people. So
Okay.
that's so far down the line. I was just kidding.
I mean,
Yeah,
her
that's
number, I don't know if I
gotta
have a
creep
kid's
up
number,
on us
but I
as
have,
we get near
I might.
And I don't have
halfway
all the
through,
answers,
three-quarters
but
through.
I've been
You're gonna
doing
run
this
into
for a
that.
while.
Answers will come.
Yes.
I think I've seen contractor trucks all over the place on it. I'm sure they're telling people they can put their house back together. And that's scary.
Oh, they're getting deposits and money from them.
Oh, yeah.
The department not gonna get that.
And the Pinellas County Construction Licensing Board is putting out information, please don't pay up front, don't listen to everything, don't let them tell you you don't need permits. Make sure they're licensed and insured, make sure they're,
That's gonna be a
Don't
problem,
sign
you're
anything.
right.
it is. Absolutely, because
Don't
they want to
sign
get
anything.
done fast, and I understand, the faster you can get it done, the faster you can get back in, right? But this is not gonna be that situation. So if you do spend money on, I have no problem with taking out all the drywall, taking out everything that got wet, absolutely. That's, if it becomes where it has to be demolished, that's part of the demolition process anyway. It's a little more tedious, but if you can rebuild it, you don't want all that stuff still in your home. So it would lessen the amount of mold that's in there, but don't go any further.
Well,
at
even
this
working
point.
in there, you've gotta get it out.
It's
If you're-
bad,
It's
correct.
bad. It's really
One of
bad.
these entities that you're working with, are they doing like a bullet point of best practices or anything like that? So you can message that out on, what you can do and what you can't do and those kinds of things? Because I think pushing this information out and possibly thinking about a town hall meeting at some point to talk about this, maybe,
The more easy to read detail we can put out for people.
yeah, just because
The better
what,
it's gonna be.
I'm worried for Terry, candidly, as I'm sitting here, and
Well, I
I know
am
some of this
too.
stuff, but just sitting here, and I think any of the information that we can push out.
And I'm not trying to terrify
Oh,
anybody.
No, I'm not worried, I'm worried for you.
Because people are already in the process of hiring contractors, I mean, you know that.
I do.
And taking money from them, so, God, maybe a town hall meeting is something,
have
We need
discussed
to
We've already
do
been
pretty
talking about
quickly.
it. Yep, we've already been talking about it.
I know, Terry's, from a legal perspective, doesn't have a choice. Period.
give her a Kevlar vest, you have a couple of those. I want her to have
Well, I'll be
one.
fine. I did
I'll feel
Sandy,
better.
I've done Irma, we've done a few, I've done a few hurricanes, not quite this,
This is horrible.
this widespread, but I have done a few, so
Because
we'll be
everyone's
fine.
focused on their own thing right now. They're not
Correct.
thinking,
And our main focus was, of course, getting the sewer back up and getting the debris removal and getting all these things done. I've been doing the damage assessment, but we wanted to put the word out, but we need to get all the other things. There's a million moving parts, right? But staff has been amazing. We have had great camaraderie and being able to come together and get through a lot of stuff. So I'm very grateful for that.
Well, plus the staff has had their own issues. I mean, it's
Sure,
not like,
they've
it's
got
not
their
like
own
we were all
homes.
immune to any of this, you know.
Correct.
I mean, people lost their
or
homes
in
just
flood
as well as everybody
areas,
else.
your guys, right?
Yeah.
Some of them.
Just about everything they had.
Which brings me to a point that we can talk about it now. Can we talk
Wait,
about
hold
it?
on, I gotta bring something else
A new
up too.
segue.
Also, with the, as of right now, with the debris removal will be removing residential houses only. So the commercial, I think, townhomes, anything that you pay like an HOA or a fee, you know, they are on their own as of right now for removal of their debris. Because on my garbage guy from over here at Les Chateaux, they're filling up all their little bins with their drywall and all of that stuff. And then the guys, right now,
Right,
he's
that's why we're doing it.
fired up because they're not picking that up, because they're not allowing, you know, the garbage truck to dump. You know, they're just for your regular house debris. So he's got 300 cans over there that's full of drywall and everything that Waste Connections is not gonna pick up. And the guy's being a real jerk. Well, you're over there, you need to get your own dumpster and start
Yeah.
removing
What
your
we were
stuff.
told is
Like
that-
some of them already did over there, but they
Yeah.
can't expect Waste Connections to do that, and they can't. They won't let them dump.
What we were told is that if we take it out of the condominium area and put it out on the street, they'll pick it up. But they won't take it from inside. They won't come inside the
They
property.
won't come out. As of right now, FEMA is not,
Let them
gave
pick
us anything to pick up commercial and private stuff gated like that.
I mean,
so.
cause you get all kind of things, you know,
They might sometime.
when I
but
talked to
who
the county
knows?
said they were gonna come in, and then now it's
The
like,
county's not
no,
doing
now you gotta
anything.
bring it out to us, and now
Each
it's.
had the meeting yesterday. Each municipality is responsible for their own stuff, and the county's not gonna come and do anything.
Well, shout out to West Connections, that I had a dumpster in front of my house in 6
And again,
hours.
I mean, that's
I
another
called
thing.
them and I didn't care. I
Yeah.
just knew
There's a lot of
that
people
there
on
was
the
gonna
line
be a
that do that.
lot, and the thing we were concerned about is everybody dumping out their refrigerators
Mm-hmm.
full of food and rats and animals and everything, so we wanted it in the dumpster.
And it has
And
to
we
be-
filled the dumpster plus an 8 feet high pile.
Mhm.
So, I mean,
But yeah, so I mean, that's something I'll get with Carly too, and I guess we can really post that. But yeah, like all the commercial places and over here and whatnot, they're on their own.
the people
As of
just
right
don't
now.
know. They don't know what
When
they
our
don't
When our
know.
truckers come,
Yeah,
they're gonna pick up the residential houses, apartment buildings, that's
Oh.
considered commercial. Call your landlord, you know, he should have his own dumpster out there. You know, if you're over here and you're paying the Les Chateau down there, I don't know, I'm assuming they're paying, some kind of homeowner's fee or condo fee over here, then you have to get with your association and bring you out your own dumpster, like a lot of those did. But until FEMA changes their mind, and sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. But
Well, where you guys live, is there trash all around outside the condos?
No. My association stepped in and told everybody that no one is to put anything in the common areas. And then they brought in a company out of Texas that's gonna restore every unit in the property. One company is gonna come and do it all. So I think some of the owners might be trying to do things on their own, but there's still piles. Like piles we got right now are the piles from all the carports that were destroyed during the second storm.
Right, that's right.
And of course, the parking lot's getting pretty empty because all the cars are getting towed out. So they jumped on it I mean, of course, there's always concern over how they did it and what's going on, but they do have one single company that's gonna come through. They're gonna start at one building, start doing all the first floors, next building, all the first floors, next building, and they're gonna put them all on what they call a white box condition. And then probably issue a check for whatever the appliances and the countertops and stuff like that, that was allowed per insurance. If they want something more, then they'll have to pay their own money. But the association is responsible for making sure that the drywall is put back in place and it's in a white box condition, so,
Now, that needs to be inspected too, right?
yeah.
Whatever they do, even if it's private, okay.
Kind of
Permitted
where I
ones?
manage, the board took a completely different approach, and it turned into the Wild West. There are piles out in front of everybody's homes, they let people, there's contractors coming and going. They waived all the alteration approvals that they had to get done.
Where was this?
Over where I manage,
Oh,
so.
where you
and
live or where you work?
Where I work.
Oh, my God.
And so the county has, reached out to me, because they haven't had many people apply for permits. And so I said, well, you need to come out. You know, I mean, I have no control of what these people do inside their homes. I said, you need to come out here and talk to everybody. Because I know people have already, over the weekend, had their family come in and replace all the drywall, rip it out and replace it, all over a weekend. And so, did they do it right? Did they do it properly? Did they sanitize? They probably did nothing.
Did they replace all the wiring behind that?
Probably not. You know, that's the whole
Everybody
thing.
knows that there's now a new state law that requires you to
Yeah.
disclose flooding when you sell. It came into effect October 1st.
I've already had someone call me wanting to buy my condo. And they offered me, they says, well, what do you want for it? I told them like 400,000.
Yeah.
They said, why, why'd you say that? I says, because that's what it's worth to me. They just
Yeah.
slammed the phone down.
Mhm.
Weird.
But anyway, it's gonna be difficult. And like I said, and these associations that weren't prepared for that. A lot of them
Yeah.
weren't prepared. So they just don't know what to do. They're looking for direction. And they're not getting it from anybody. You know, I mean, we got FEMA to help us give us some direction. They got books and things that people we can talk to. They got nobody, but their insurance
Well, and
company.
there's a lot of
They're in the
people have left.
FDIC as
You know,
well.
they cleared out their
So-
houses, and they're wherever they are, they're not even coming back until they get, you know, something, until the trash is picked up, and then they think they can go right to a contractor after that.
Oh, yeah, and the buildings are, they can't, the flood is one thing, flood pays for a whole lot. FPIC pays for putting the unit pretty much back the way it was when it was originally constructed. I mean, you get counters, you get the appliance package, you get all that kind of stuff. Your building insurance doesn't do that. It will pay for the drywall only, everything else is not covered, all personal contents, nothing is covered. But there is a 7.5% insurance deductible over what the total building is worth. One of the towers out there by me, just one of them is 24 million. So 7.5%, they gotta come up with over $1 million deductible to pay to repair a roof that only costs $200,000 to replace. So there's no money coming from their insurance. It's all gonna be out of pocket. It's just not worth it for them to even file a claim. They're not gonna get any money. So it's just gonna be, sorry, you gotta pay your
Just assess
deductible
for the
first.
roof and go for it.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's gonna be a lot of people moving, a lot of people giving up their places, a lot of people walking away. It's gonna be places that aren't gonna be rebuilt because people are just gonna say, I'm gonna take my insurance money and run. And that's what's gonna happen. And we're gonna see a lot of that, some of that in our city. So, I got my money, see ya. Just abandon the property, walk away, so.
And I think the mobile home park, we may see a lot of that, because I'm not
Yeah.
sure what the land lease is between the owner and the
Right, how that works out.
unit and the owner of the land, but some of these people
Yeah.
may not be able to afford to remove the mobile home, let alone rebuild one. So I'm not sure what that, we're gonna
It
have
depends on
some,
how aggressive they wanna be. The mobile park might file lawsuits against all these people. You
They
never know.
may.
I mean, it could
or they
turn,
may just clear it
or they
out
might just say, see ya, clear it out and just start.
and then make decisions. So there are many moving parts, and unfortunately.
Has the owner of the mobile home park even contacted the city or spoken to you at all?
Yes, so so Amy is the manager on site. I've spoken to her numerous times. She helped us with when we went through the the park door to door to make sure that nobody was there after Milton. Because we had been told, Amy had told us, as well as some of the residents had said, that there were people who stayed after Helene before Milton, so, or during Milton. So we did a sweep. Chief did a sweep. I took down numbers. So it was a great effort. It was the sheriff and the fire department and Carly
National
and
Guard.
National Guard and myself, and so it was a huge joint effort. So we did, but we got calls that there were people still there, so we had to go and look. And Amy helped to facilitate that. I have spoken to, I guess, her boss. I'm not sure if he's an owner or if he's part of the management company but he was a little upset with me the first time when I told him I was deeming some of them unsafe. And I think then he understood afterwards.
You do not.
Um,
The mobile home, for crying, you could blow it down yourself. It's ridiculous.
People think that because
I mean,
they're
I
still
don't
standing that
understand
they're
why
okay.
people are like that.
Would
Yeah.
some be an understatement? Right, I think it's
Um,
majority.
Upset
it
me.
is majority, yes. I'm sorry.
No, I'm just trying to make sure.
It is majority, yes. The majority are not safe.
And that's what's gonna change the landscape, right?
Correct. Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And people were already, we
Someone
had,
started that.
the day we
They
were
started
there
to put the
after
floor in?
Helene,
Yeah.
they had already ripped out the floor, put down new plywood, and were putting in, had the contractor coming the next day to put in the flooring.
We had some people that were like, I'm just replacing my carpet. And we're like, no, you're not.
Someone was selling a spray that's supposed to, there was all kinds of stuff.
Pesticide, microbacterial.
Mold away
The antimicrobial.
by spray mold away.
It helps.
We can't stop it all.
No.
But what we can do is make sure that as Terry goes through this process, we're deliberate, that we document everything. And then if we have to get into a fight with FEMA about that, we will have the evidence to show them that we went through all of these processes.
Did
Because
everything.
that's where, that is where this is going to become the issue, is if FEMA has any belief that we skirted anything or we did not do everything appropriately. I actually worked with the city of Madeira Beach a couple of years ago on a FEMA issue, and they came in and put Madeira Beach on notice that they were gonna strip them. Or they were gonna actually not strip them, they were gonna lower their rating. And unfortunately, Madeira Beach did not keep all of the documentation. So, and this was not even a storm-related issue, this was just some construction issues.
And we've done so our damage assessment is done with the county's program. So everything that we put into the damage assessment, we take pictures, we document the address, we pinpoint it on the map, and then we sync it with the county's information. So everything that we do in that program is synced with the county. So they have a record of it to assist us with sending in resources and knowing where these things are. And then the substantial damage estimator is something that FEMA puts out, that we do it in paper form, and then we document it in the substantial damage estimator through FEMA's website, and it gets uploaded as well. So we have all these records as well as all the photos on our phones and our tablets, and we're syncing all that data.
You're gonna run into
Terry's the
three to
best.
four different types of homeowners through all this. You're gonna get the ones that are going to understand. They're not gonna like it. They're gonna understand and they're gonna comply. You're gonna get the neighbor next door who doesn't like it, but I'm gonna do it because my neighbor's doing it. I guess I have to do it, kind of thing.
I'll worry about it later.
Yeah, and then you're gonna have the ones that are gonna dig their feet in, and hopefully that's gonna be, no more than a quarter of what's happening, not half. And then, so those are ones we'll have to deal with as we move through. But once some people start complying, others will follow usually, but you're always gonna have the ones, there's always the ones. It's just, you're not gonna tell me what to do, it's my house.
Human nature.
And then that's where our battle begins.
We're hearing that already.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, we're trying to be respectful at the moment, right? Because just coming out of the storm, but yet being honest at the same time. We did have one on the search and rescue. That was our first mission back in the city post Milton, because we did have several trailers collapse, and we did have reports of people still in there. That was a trailer by trailer mission. We had one person. We did a survey around the house. The park manager gave us her name as a person who did stay during the storm. We also had a friend pull up to the park and say, I need to find out if that person's in there, right? So 2 people asking about the person in the same trailer, so we did force entry on the back door. We've already got a complaint, who's paying for my door. You know, I wasn't home. You guys went in the trailer just to keep you aware. But I think at that moment, based on the damage and the reports we had no choice but to check, so. And it's tough, right? Because you got partial collapses, you know, until you move all the debris, but, you know, we did the best we could.
Let's move to the bigger part of this picture. I'm doing all money here, Jim. I'm sure we're gonna be digging it in the reserves, some of this stuff that we wish we would've had a whole year's worth now.
We don't really have an assessment at this point.
Still waiting on insurance paperwork and stuff like that. I brought the insurance companies around, to look at a lot of stuff, but then I have not seen anybody back or an email or ask for any. I did get an email this morning, they're gonna send IH out, but I have no idea what that means. That's what I asked her, I never got a response. I said, we'll send them, but I'll be here, whatever it is, you know, and I haven't gotten anything back from that.
It takes a while to get the reimbursement, so the city's gonna have to put the money up front.
And
I mean, like this stuff out here, is this paid for, or is this something we gotta pay for until we get reimbursed?
No, we've got to pay for that.
And I asked the
Well, I
chief,
figured.
I asked the chief the same thing, and he said, I think we have to pay for it, but we're not really sure the cost of it.
Well,
That's
I know
what I
that's
mean.
not cheap, cause I looked it up trying to get it.
One thing we did ask for through the state EOC was a Florida Department of Emergency Management technical expert. I believe they tried to reach out yesterday. We're trying to get in contact to have them, you know, just help us with some of these questions. So hopefully that can be a resource we can lean on.
and probably don't want to hear this neither, but I did talk to my hauler this morning, and I said, can you give me, you know, we have about 80,000 cubic yards of debris here, you know, probably a little bit more now, but I asked him, well, just give me a rough estimate on what it's gonna cost to remove that, and in his mind, he's thinking between $1 and $2 million.
That,
For,
yeah,
for five
and that's
grand just to,
absolutely true.
just
Because he doesn't know, he
for
didn't.
10 units worth of furniture and drywall that's been ripped out, sitting out in the street, you know? And I thought that was a lot.
So there are some things through the state that are being covered because it is a disaster, major
Right.
disaster. There are things that are being covered for the first 90 days.
But after that, they want to be paid.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
And that, you know, those things are, as questions come up, they're like, yes, that's covered, no, that's not covered, we don't, you know, so we're figuring our way through this.
So Julia, from your experience with any of this, have other cities had to assess their residents?
Not that I'm aware of. After this conversation, my plan is to talk to my colleague down that dealt with this in Fort Myers and find out how but they just did not have this level of flooding, so I don't know exactly how they managed it. I mean, there's probably a justifiable assessment. I think
Not that I hope we don't have to, but just I didn't know if other cities have had to do
it's
it.
probably, I'm not aware of any entity doing that, so
Right.
why don't I spend a little time both talking to my colleague down in the Fort Myers area, talking to some of my colleagues in Tallahassee, and seeing if there's any information they can provide me, and for the purposes of an assessment, think through what that might look like. I would suggest that probably is something we wouldn't have to necessarily be able to put in
Yeah.
place for a little while.
I was contacted by Laura O'Neill. She is the aide for Kamala Harris prior to the storm, and said that they were trying to help out these smaller municipalities, and that they had non-FEMA funds that they could provide to us, and just need to know what we need after the storm was settled. So that's something that we might need. It might be nothing, but it probably might be worth a call. I sit down with some of you, and we get them on the phone and talk to her and see, you guys kind of laid out what we need, kind of get it in your heads, and we'll do this together.
It's another resource. Why
Yeah,
not?
yeah. I mean, I also got a call from Rick Scott, but I don't know what he'd do for us anyway.
Did you meet with the governor yesterday?
So I didn't, no,
Yeah, he was out near our place yesterday.
yeah.
Yeah.
So,
So you need somebody to get FEMA squared away, answer questions, put it in writing,
Yeah.
don't make everything any
You
more
almost
difficult
wish you
than
had a
it has to
FEMA rep
be.
assigned
They
to
won't
each
answer
city.
everything.
I know, because there's so
They're not
many
even-
questions.
They're not even
So
saying
many
that they would pay
targets.
for our
So many
trucks.
what?
So many moving targets.
Oh, yeah, and so many different areas, exactly.
we need to have an office in each city. is what
My,
they should do
my
at the
thought
same
is
time.
just make sure you document everything
Well, once
and
we
make our
start-
package together.
Documents, all I've heard. Document,
I
take
just,
pictures,
that
document,
is
take
that
pictures.
is gonna be the difference between getting stuff happen
Right.
and meeting timeframes for now. Hopefully I can see about breaking through to some of this stuff, but my suspicion is this is not gonna be an answered story for a while.
Because everybody in the city right now is filling out the 214s for the FEMA stuff and all that, and the Dupree company and the monitoring company, they have their trucks and they scan, you know, and when they're all done loading everything, he goes, we get the perfect printout because they work with FEMA all the time, so at least that's kind of simplified, but you know, you still don't, with the meeting that I had yesterday with the county, you know, because of the price change, what the state did, this, you know, the county's has to do an emergency RFP to raise the prices to get the trucks. And still couldn't get an answer from FEMA if they were even gonna comply with that, agree with that, or pay it back. They don't, it's just when you're talking about reimbursement, you don't get an answer.
Well, and they did say too, if you have, because of the two storms, people that had a loss fill out 2 FEMA requests.
Oh, yeah.
And do not put
And-
both names on the form.
Right.
Fill out one for Helene and one for
Right,
Milton.
I just
and
did
do
that
not
last
intermix
night.
them.
Put both, you did both of them.
Yeah.
We don't have a pod, correct?
No,
If
In
I can-
addition to the
I
comfort
said we
station.
were open to one, but
Where would we put it? I'm being asked right now.
Galatia, if they wanna put something here, point of
Point of
distribution.
distribution, water, food,
Oh,
blankets.
yeah, we
I
do
mean,
it
we
here.
have water and MREs down there, but they weren't provided by the county as a formal pod.
I'll let them know.
Okay.
Sorry.
I asked for cleaning supplies also, they're supposed to be sending us cleaning supplies. I did have a couple other quick points. So we'll be having a special commission meeting Thursday evening to make up for not having one, regular commission meeting last week. A lot of the items on that are, general items that you would not be surprised to see, housekeeping items that we do every year. There is an emergency ordinance that we have added, in looking at sort of what the community is gonna be dealing with and areas that are gonna need to rebuild. And Terry may wanna speak to this and describe it better than I will. But our city code does not, or restricts, the parking of large recreational vehicles and boats, in specific areas. And so we have worked with Julia and Kristen to draft, an ordinance that, I guess I'm gonna say waives, but modifies, changes the restrictions to allow, for usage of recreational vehicles. Like in a driveway, for example, if you're rebuilding your home and you happen to own an RV, park your RV in your driveway, as long as there's gonna be a permit process for it, so as long as it's appropriate, you could live in your RV like in your driveway.
Okay.
Which is not currently allowed otherwise. And same with the storage of boats over a certain size, right now you could not store that.
So people that have lost their jobs.
So people that have lost their docks could store their boat until their dock is rebuilt. It's not forever, but it's more of a, hey, we're trying to work with people to ease some of the
So
things
is that a
you're
go,
doing.
or is that what you're
That
saying?
will be before you all on Thursday.
Yeah, that, we
So-
drafted an emergency ordinance, which doesn't need to follow the same requirements for your normal ordinance process. I am comfortable that this would, a single reading, it would provide for, you have a provision in your code which doesn't allow you to have an RV in your front yard, it has to be in your back, and doesn't really provide, it's silent on this, but doesn't really provide an opportunity for you to technically live in it. The emergency ordinance would allow you to have that RV in your front yard with a permit for electrical and for sewer, and you know, make sure that those connections are correct, and would allow that to occur through the process of, you know, you have to have an active building permit. I'll explain this again.
You
but
have
just-
to get a permit to do that.
you have to get a permit to do it, and then you need to get an active building permit to do something in your house. Because what we don't want to have is all of a sudden you become a community full of single-family
Like,
lots.
I'm not fixing my house, but I'm living in an RV in the driveway.
Yeah, that's not
Not
the,
allowing
I'm
that.
working on it. I'm working on it.
Exactly, there will be some oversight to it
Yeah.
and some timeframes, cause
Right.
the goal is to help you
And it
move
has to fit
forward.
within their
Okay.
boundaries
That's
of
good
their
to
land,
know.
that kind of
So I've been asked that.
Yes.
Yes, and on their property and not on the streets. It has to be
that's, yeah.
Yeah.
up on their property.
So that's coming before you all.
Same thing with allowing you to leave your boat in the front yard
Correct.
setback, and if you have a dock that has been destroyed and you're under an active permit.
Okay.
You have to be actively repairing.
And
the
we're
dock. You
gonna,
can't just
we're
be
gonna
like, I'm
agree or discuss that
That'll,
on Thursday.
that'll be
night?
for your
Thursday.
consideration on
Okay.
Thursday, and
Okay.
as I said,
Correct.
the,
They're gonna
It is
come out
5
like
o'clock.
today or
Is
tomorrow.
it-
Yeah, I'm gonna try to send it to you
Read it.
today.
it's at 5 o'clock?
No.
Okay, you see, I read for, okay.
That's.
I
a
would have
good
figured
thing.
it out. but-
What else you got?
One other thing I wanted to sort of throw out there, I do not have the specifics on it yet, is again, with having a second storm has really thrown us off a little bit. We did have some employees, it was mentioned earlier, that had some pretty significant damage. And so I'm looking to putting together a couple of different options for example, like a vacation buyback offering. We do not normally allow staff to basically sell their vacation back to the city because we want people to take vacations and take care of your mental health and go do things. But we also understand that with this storm, there are going to be people that are in some different circumstances that are unusual to them. So there's a group of like HR reps from neighboring communities that are starting to get together to go, how can we support our staff that was affected? And so things like vacation buybacks are one of the ideas. So I wanted to sort of throw that out there so you all gauge where you were at with that. And I would come back to you with, this is what we would be suggesting. But I just wanted to let you know that we're talking about some of those things because we did
Budgeted for
have
those vacations, aren't we?
yeah, so that's all. It shouldn't be a budgetary thing. It's just not a policy that we
Well,
have
and what about the
already.
salaried employee
We do
like
today.
you guys? Would that be also for you?
The
Well, I mean, you guys have
vacation.
been putting in incredible hours. I mean, what's the buyback on that? I know it's your job, but
Well,
come on.
So we have a disaster pay policy for exempt employees that we put in place after Irma, because those hours are reimbursable through FEMA as long as you have a policy. You can't
Okay.
decide after an event to go, we'll pay you this, and then FEMA's going to do it. You have to have a policy in place to govern that.
And we did have that, right?
We do, yeah.
Okay.
So all of those hours are being tracked, but exempt
good.
employees are being paid for the extra work.
Okay.
So
Costa Rica, here we come. I wonder who that is.
he's never getting a day off.
I'm
to
not
go.
mentioning any names.
Floods over there too.
If we could ever get it.
No, I mean, it really, I mean, these people hardly had any sleep I mean, for days and days and days, so I get it.
So it has been.
So we move on to the next item, which I can just pretty much say probably everything's canceled.
I haven't talked to Sean about the tree lighting. I don't even know if that stuff is okay, but I can speak to the fact that the
The electrician, haven't even gotten that far yet on there, but,
What
We'd
about
have
our
to-
tree?
tree's good.
I'll tell you, if we could,
The big
if we
tree's
could
good, it
just
was
pull
upstairs.
off the tree lighting.
I
and
think we
go
can
for
make
it.
that happen.
I think we can do the
Tree
tree
lighting.
lighting and the boat
It would be
parade.
such something to make everybody feel a little better
The
right
tree
now.
lighting, I
The
think,
boat
will be
parade
good.
might be a concern because of navigational issues.
We'll have to play that one by ear.
That's true.
Oh,
There
Because
is
the
there is
debris in
marine
the
debris
water.
that we don't
Yeah.
we don't
So-
even know.
Speaking of that, how did Marine Max turn out with this flood? Did they
Haven't
have a lot of
gotten to
issues?
commercial.
So they don't know, huh?
They did, I did talk to Chris, cause he's right. They had several boats that came
Floated
in.
up on land.
And ran into their boats in their marina. They had to have a big crane come and lift them out of there.
Oh, wow.
We got that pontoon, is that pontoon boat still out there?
There's a few boats still out there.
It's gonna be the new public works relaxation boat. It's out of the way once when it's all said and done. But yeah, no, it's still there.
It's
I
like
was-
everything else, it's
Yeah.
gonna
It
take
came
time
out
to
of
get it
Marine
out
Max
of
and
there.
it came out, what are those apartments next to Marine Max? I don't know what this kind
Oh, on the other side over there.
Oh, across the
And
street.
it was heading right straight from the wind blew it and it blew it up on land. So as you're coming out of
Oh,
Marine Max.
off of by
The
Walmart.
boat is sitting
that
there.
one.
Saw that.
Yeah.
There's one that's in the back of a house on the island.
So, tree lighting at least.
So
But yes, no, I think,
Some kind of holiday gathering for everybody.
yeah, I think we'll be able to,
On
do
my
that.
side?
And we can light that up pretty good, you know,
Yeah.
we can do
Yeah.
some
Yeah, I mean, we
stuff
got,
down the side.
well,
I
we
mean,
got November,
And
so we got
again,
maybe
it-
2 months.
I'm 7.
Yeah.
the tree lighting, I think we can do. We'll have to look into the boat parade.
Yeah.
But just to let you all know, the equipment and the setup for Art Spring
Gone,
gone.
yeah, all the pegboards and
So we have to
All,
cancel
all
Art
the
Spring.
pegboards,
there's
all
a
of our
lot
Art
of
Spring
stuff
stuff
that we're gonna
gone.
have to purchase.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't see us being able to do spring events this coming year. Besides the fact that our work schedule, not our work schedule, but our work life is going to be very different for a while. So we don't have the equipment for it anymore. But I also think that our priorities are going to be a little bit
Yeah, we got-
different
That makes
for the next.
But you think we
For
can
the
pull off the
foreseeable
boat
future.
parade?
Or at least
Well,
The tree lighting.
Tree lighting at least, yeah.
Cause I kinda chuckled a little bit yesterday on a radio commercial, and they were talking about the boat races out off of St. Pete.
Oh, I
And
know.
I'm thinking,
They can't.
me and my son was in the
I know.
car, and I'm going, are they kidding me? Maybe,
Yeah.
run over a floating dock or something in the water, going
Yeah.
130 miles
Hey,
an hour.
listen, you can run a power cord to my house for the tree.
Yeah.
And I know you have enough power cords.
No, it's gonna zap you. Ask
It's gonna
Steven.
zap you, yeah.
We
Hey,
already
you gotta
know
bring
what
the
Steven
generator.
says.
Oh,
Exactly. We can make that happen.
We don't need Steven yelling at us, Gail.
She doesn't do that anymore.
But yes,
I guess that's where we're at.
hopefully, if anything with that, I agree. At least the tree lighting anyway. That
We'll
survived.
at least, yeah.
We
try
can,
that.
we can.
Just
push
something,
for
just
that,
something
so,
for somebody to come see and kind of take a deep breath.
Sorry, folks.
Yeah.
Long days. All right, so, 2025 budget update. We're jumping on that
Jim,
one.
do you want me to go or do you want to go first?
I think you can go. The only thing I had on it, is a segue into what Charlie's doing is, I budgeted $1.2 million for the sale of the old fire station. We got an appraisal, it's just a little bit higher, I think it was $1.4 million, so I will do a budget amendment to increase that. But I think Carly wanted to discuss the future of the
I do,
old
yeah.
fire station, so.
So, and not looking for you all to make any decisions today, but trying to sort of gauge what your thoughts are to figure out how to move forward. The more that staff has been meeting, the more we're seeing that we are outgrowing what we currently have. Our thought is that space in this area is hard to come by. We saw that when we were trying to find space for the fire station. It's difficult. It's difficult to get land here. So our thought was not to pursue selling the property. We had looked into the possibility of doing like a long-term lease for commercial use. The concern there is that because the property would require such an investment to convert into something commercial, that a long-term lease would have to be really, really long for someone outside of the city to be interested in doing it, which at that point kind of could make it too long that when the city needs it, it's still not available because we'd potentially have to lease it for like 30 plus years for someone to be interested in it. And we may need it sooner than 30 years. We think we need it now, basically.
So, but I mean, are we budgeted to do what it's gonna take to make that building
Not currently, no.
livable?
Not currently, no. So this would be a process that would take a couple of years. Our thought was, because we are outgrowing, the departments that are in offices are outgrowing the space that we have. So the thought that we had was the possibility of planning to transition Public Works to the old Station 20. So rehabbing that building to house Public Works. And then.
Is
we
that
are-
enough?
Well, between that and the building
They
we have
keep
in
the
the
shop.
back over here.
Oh, so you'd have both of those?
You'd keep
Yeah.
the shop, but they wouldn't utilize the office space in the front annex building.
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
And then the positions that we've talked about adding here, we would potentially transition finance over to where Public Works is in the annex building, like the front office space in
Yeah,
the annex
it all
building.
makes sense.
Because we're running out of space.
Then have the two new people we're gonna hire
Correct.
take over these offices.
Which I have a request on that also.
No, it makes sense. I mean,
It's a
we
good
own the
request.
I'm not
building
done yet.
already. We own the building already, and if it can be used,
It's a good thing.
it's a good thing.
How much
So
maintenance is gonna be required to keep that building going though?
Yeah, there'd be some.
Well, once it's gutted and replaced, it,
The old fire station?
Yeah.
it just have to be gutted completely and
Air conditioner.
Well, the air
Everything.
conditioner's new.
Oh, that's right, we got that new.
We just, water heater's new.
The
The roof, I would say a priority. Bay doors, the garage doors, if it's kept in that configuration, needs some work, and the sprinkler system needs some work.
And then just carpeting and fixing
Well,
Yeah.
inside.
Serve Pro's out there right now, because it did get water from Helene, so they're tearing all the carpet out and doing a cleanup to avoid some mold issues and stuff, so we're trying.
the air still working.
It does, it gets, power surges and shuts off, so we have to go by and check it and make sure it keeps running, yeah.
So what was your other thing?
my other request. So during the budget process, we talked about the addition of marketing staff, which we are still pursuing and want to pursue. You all were very generous and directed us to put in funds for 2 marketing positions. I'd actually like to utilize some of those funds in the current fiscal year to bring on 1 marketing person and then an on-staff IT specialist. Especially during events like this, it has been very, very difficult for us to coordinate. We have an IT vendor that we will be bringing before you all actually on Thursday to transition to a different IT vendor. And they've recommended as well that we have someone on staff. It's sort of the smaller cities now, that's kind of the hybrid setup that a lot have found works. And this, the technology needs, they are, I don't even want to say they're staying the same, they are increasing. They're never going down, and they're not staying the same. Our technology needs are increasing because we are getting more and more and more of our work processes that are becoming digital, whether we want to or not. I mean, and I'm not saying that we would not want to, but I'm saying there is so much that is being passed down just by the state. You will do this. You will have this.
Well, and you
will
can't be
change
down
this.
for days
So-
like we are trying to wait for the IT
So-
guy to show up.
I mean,
I was setting up the Starlink yesterday, so.
Yeah, you're done. If you-
The amount of money that we have budgeted for the assistant, enough for an IT tech, or do we need to increase that amount?
It's close. I'd like to, so we budgeted for 2 positions, one slightly under the other. So the marketing coordinator position was kind of mid-level, and then it was intended to be a marketing assistant, which was just under. I would like to advertise for the IT position to be at the same level as what the marketing position was, which it's a couple $1,000 difference.
That would make sense, yeah.
So it's very close.
And hoping to get somebody for that.
Yeah, and hoping to get
Budgeted
somebody.
52, almost 53,000 in salary, plus the benefits, so.
Which is mid-range in the pay scale, so
Right.
that could still be an appropriate amount, because even if we go with a higher pay scale, if you're in a different step, that could still be fine, if that makes sense. I don't know if that makes sense or not.
Makes sense.
Do we need to vote on that?
So there's a resolution coming before you all on Thursday, which is to adopt the step pay plan. We would like for that to include the creation of the IT specialist position, so.
Okay with that, aren't you?
Oh, yeah,
Everybody's okay with that?
definitely.
And then I have one more thing on that. I'm so
Oh
sorry.
my God, she's killing us.
So, we, in hoping to transition, Public Works to the fire station and finance to the annex, that's not gonna be a quick process, and the goal is to have the new positions in soon, well before that process would be doable, so I am short on space. That would potentially mean that we would like to ask if we can consolidate commission offices, and temporarily utilize 2 commissioner offices, and then have the 2 that are displaced basically then share. So you would have 2 and 2. So
You'd have 2 desks face each other.
yeah, we can,
And 2
No,
of the
you can
or
office.
have
one
my
desk and you
office.
share
And
it
you guys
either
will
way.
share.
Whatever.
You're not here that much, we're
Yeah.
not here that much.
So if you need the office space, you can absolutely still use it. It would only be the times you all are here for
Just don't
commission
be talking
meetings
to
that
each
you
other,
both
but that's
be.
not-
Take my whole office, I'm never in there.
Well,
I sit at
One
the
gets a
table.
month.
Yeah. Yeah. Carly will be listening
I'm
for
never
sunshine
there, so
violations.
take the whole thing, I don't care.
Whatever it takes.
So, okay, I appreciate that. And then the goal would be
I'll go
to
hang
give
at
them
the fire
back, but it
station.
may be a little while before they are,
Sit in one of those
Given back.
comfortable chairs.
so.
Cook your food in that nice kitchen.
Did I get it? Jim, did you have any other budget stuff?
Me.
That was my main stuff. I don't know if anybody
No,
else had.
tonight, on
anything.
Thursday, we have approval of the COLAs. They've already been processed, so please,
Including for you all,
including a
Didn't we already
4%.
get it?
so,
It's all part of the Thursday
yep,
vote.
yep.
The reclaimed water and sewer fee keeps getting bumped. I'm gonna have to bump it again. First reading was supposed to be 10/8.
Last week.
We had to cancel it, so now I have to coordinate with St. Pete to do another notice, and I'll probably have to move it forward another 30 days. It's probably not gonna become effective until February 1st. So
Gotcha.
It's because of the noticing requirements. The other items that you all that will go before you on Thursday are things that didn't have noticing requirements. So we could very easily just pick a new meeting date and put it before you. But those, they have to be re-noticed completely. So
Gotta be
we
noticed
can't
by
move on them as
billing.
quickly.
Right.
gotta go on.
But Thursday's like the last meeting, the official meeting for the month.
Correct.
But we're also talking about a potential, town hall, or no?
We're talking about that, but that would be more of staff and potentially like FEMA reps or
Okay.
FDEM reps and not necessarily you all.
Commission.
Because we're asking for reinforcements to come in to help us explain and kind of just make this
Okay.
as transparent as
And
possible.
wasn't there a,
so.
I guess that's over, wasn't there a planning and zoning that was supposed to happen, but it sounds
Yes.
like that's not
So
good.
we
Well, we
actually
don't know.
advertised it.
Yeah.
We had gotten some applications, and then the day it was supposed to end, Helene hit. So we have not done anything with that at this point. We'll re-advertise
have to go
at
back to
some
the-
point.
And that may be a whole different thing right now.
Well, they'd have to decide what application they want to proceed forward with.
They're not talking about the
Oh,
planner.
I'm sorry.
They're
I'm
talking about
sorry.
the special exception. They're not talking about the planner
Oh.
opening.
I'm sorry. I thought we were talking about the planner. We were talking salaries and people and,
Yeah, yeah.
sorry, brain loss. Planning and zoning, I have, not
Special
completely, just a
exception.
little bit.
Just a little.
The special exception for the seawall. I have told them that we would be bumping that. We have asked them to, I'm sending an email, or sent an email to ask them to evaluate the seawall to see if it's even viable to move forward.
Yeah, we can't. Nope. Nope.
So let's not get into any.
We don't know
details.
we don't know the future of
We
it.
don't know the future of it.
All we know
Sorry.
right now is it is out of order to be heard, and the whole thing will need to be re-advertised.
It may or may not come back before you.
Okay,
We don't
that's
know.
fine. I
We don't
just
know.
wondered, because I know we got.
We'll let you know.
No, it's okay, there's
We
nothing
don't
going
know.
on.
Yeah, we can't. Yeah,
Yeah, no, it's,
we do not know the future of that application.
can I just go back to the town hall? If we do schedule the town hall, I would recommend against, and I know it'll be hard because you want to be there to support your constituents, I would recommend against commissioners attending to avoid any potential of a question of a sunshine law.
Commissioners not attending.
Yeah,
Oh, I'm okay
because,
with that.
because of any potential relating to a sunshine law violation. So as much as I know you want to be there to support your constituents, just know that my recommendation is against having you attend that, simply because I don't know what's gonna come out of it, and I don't know what might end up coming before you. And in order to avoid that possibility, so if people are like, oh, my commissioner's not here, you can say in absolute honesty that your attorney has recommended against you attending. So
We
I wanted
also-
to just let you know that.
We also want to continue to reinforce that the requirements that these decisions are being based on are not city requirements. It's from FEMA. It's not things that we can just change our code and we don't do the 50. You know what I mean? It's not. This is way above us. So we're trying to reinforce
And that we're
that.
following FEMA regulations to the T.
Correct.
We've
Okay.
adopted ordinances that support the floodplain regulations.
Correct.
And we had to adopt those in order to participate in anything federally regulated.
Well, the only real issue that, other than the trash, is they were saying, well, you've only got so many people in your building department. How are we gonna get permits? And my answer has been, you know, we're following whatever the rules are, and we'll have whatever we need to support the people in our city. And that's not giving them a definite number or anything
We've
like that.
asked for
but-
resources
Yeah.
from the state.
Yeah,
We've asked for help.
Right,
Yeah.
so I mean,
And they
just
are
so they
supportive
know
of
that it's not, because they're kind of, well, you've only got 3 people. Well, that's not necessarily the truth. There's 4 people,
Sorry.
4 and a half.
We've
No,
requested
we've
help.
asked
We are-
for
Because we're
additional.
trying not to overstate and, you know, just tell
Correct.
people.
What?
I think I had 4 on my letter. didn't I?
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought.
You did. You had it right.
I think I had it right, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
You had it right.
And they are troopers.
They are. They're doing great. They're doing great. Are there any comments or anything that you all are hearing?
Yes.
That, because you all may be hearing or seeing things that we're not. I'm aware of there being like social media.
Just
Groups
about the
and
building.
whatnot
I'm
that are
hearing,
Okay, thanks.
I'm hearing on the island, you know, that how long are we gonna get permits, and there's a lot of contractors going around.
Apply for permits
And
online right now.
that scares me, because
Yeah.
there's a lot of drywall out in the street, obviously, or in front of the street.
Why did those
and-
contractors haul that off?
Yeah, right, those damn.
It's in their
people.
contract, I bet.
I know. No, but I'm just saying that you're seeing these
they don't-
people, and they are, like, I can even
Yeah.
see my next door neighbor thinking, he's
Mm-hmm.
gonna be back in his house in 7 months. Just the way it was. And I say nothing, because first of all, that's ridiculous.
Tell them to call the building
Tell them
department.
to call.
I
We
know
will, tell them to send emails.
Yeah.
Just because, you know, if I can do it at 11 o'clock at night, I'll do that, as opposed to trying to call them at 6 o'clock in the morning when I get here. So,
But I mean, I know
I
he's
find
already
time.
got contractors on the hook, and I just say, yeah, have a nice day. I don't know what else there is.
No reason nobody's not applying for a permit. I mean, like, you do it online. the office
Have you
there,
received application for permits yet
we have received a couple.
that seem to be okay,
You
or
shouldn't get it, yeah.
how could they be okay? You haven't done the
I can't do
assessment.
the assessment.
Okay,
So
I
we
see
have-
what you mean. I'm with you.
We have put a hold on everything, saying it needs to be evaluated. So as soon as it's evaluated, we will process permits. I can't process them until I have the assessment done.
And I have one question. So we had the issue at Harborside with the building that wasn't structurally secure. So after this flood, what happened with that? Are they still okay? Or they have to, did it get washed out with the work they were doing?
So they had it prior to the storm, prior to Helene. They had requested for an inspection for their pilings. Sorry, for the pilings to be inspected, because they had it complete
Right.
and ready to be enclosed. Their structural engineer did the inspection, because I told him, you know, we were in the middle of all this. I said, please do the inspection, send me pictures. So we've gotten the pictures on that with the structural engineer's signature, that it was good. So it's not complete 100%, but they are, both
Didn't
buildings
set them
are.
back much?
Nope, not at all.
Okay, good. Good, that's good. Good. So
So
they went through
they
a
were in
lot,
process.
and now they're going
Thank
through
goodness
this.
that first one got done
Ooh.
prior to this,
You
right?
Okay. All right, well, if that's it for everybody, are we good? All right, everyone. Adjourned.
Thursday night, 5 o'clock.
5 o'clock.
Hits you when you're down.